Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about sustainability in libraries. Climate change is the subject of many books for kids and teens. Often climate is just one part of the dystopian world building in many YA novels. While many of the dystopian scenarios may seem totally outrageous, the temperatures in our reality are rising. The sea level is rising, there's been an increase in extreme weather and coastal flooding, and scientists are fairly certain that humans have been the cause of this. The premise of libraries is based upon recycling. Books and materials are meant to be circulated and reused, but libraries do still contribute to waste. In 2016 in the United States, almost 21 million tons of paper went to landfills rather than recycling centers. That number is almost unfathomable. 18.7 million acres of forest are lost annually. Deforestation is a major contributor to climate change. The fewer trees we have in our world, the more CO2 stays in our atmosphere. And libraries are massive paper consumers, from books to newspapers, magazines, printer paper, displays, and newsletters. Scientists are forecasting that without intervention, we could reach an increase of 9 degrees Fahrenheit from pre-industrial temperatures. As a result, we will start to see even more extreme weather and flooding. Our current infrastructure is not made to handle that. Human health will also be impacted by the rising temperatures and extreme weather. I think that, some of these outrageous scenarios that we see in dystopian literature might actually become a reality. These statistics are terrifying. Luckily, libraries can be part of a movement for change for the better. It can be really daunting thinking about changing something or changing anything to become more eco-friendly and more sustainable. A lot of times people picture that as a huge remodel to make a building more sustainable. But I think that libraries can make a lot of really small changes that will ultimately help contribute to making the world a better place and to reducing carbon footprint. So libraries are massive paper consumers, like I said. In my own school library, 2 printers print out over 3,000 sheets per month. And I understand that it's difficult for a school to go completely paperless. We need to print some assignments. But we also need to be more conscientious about printing. I see it happen way more often than I care to admit that a student prints off over 100 copies of a poster only to proofread it to find that there was a mistake and have to reprint the job. So as librarians, we should be reminding the students to proof everything before they hit print and educating students on the impact that that has. I think a lot of students don't even bat an eye when reprinting hundreds of pages. We just need to remind them that, this is being very wasteful. Obviously, we've all been there though. Mistakes do happen, but I think that gentle reminders could help prevent some of these scenarios from happening. Additionally, when possible, double-sided printing should be encouraged to just reduce the total number of pages printed. Another spot of waste that I see in libraries are bulletin boards. It's really fun to pick out cool fonts and cool images, but all of that stuff is really wasteful when you think that it only stays up for a month or two and then all of it comes down and gets thrown away. So I like to try to pick out fonts that I can reuse over and over again and then have those laminated to help preserve them for future use. That way when I'm putting up a bulletin board, I know that I can ultimately reuse that information and those fonts and images. Libraries can also provide access to e-copies of magazines, obviously books as well. Ebooks are a great way to help reduce paper consumption. The monthly newsletter that a lot of libraries send can be sent via email. So rather than printing off the entire newsletter and sending it out to patrons, we could email it out to patrons. I've also seen a lot of information about posting QR codes around the library. So rather than printing off signs or printing off infographics to hang up around the library, posting those QR codes so that the patrons can access that information directly on their phone and then, click on links to get more information as needed. Libraries are also huge energy consumers. It takes a lot of energy to heat and cool such large spaces, as well as to power the number of electronics that we use in our spaces. Librarians can ensure that computers and electronics go into power save mode at the end of the night, so that the computers or other electronics aren't wasting a ton of energy. In my library, we will often just leave the computers on at the end of the night, and that wastes so much energy. There's no reason for the computer to be on through the night when no one's going to be there. If it's in the budget, smart outlets can also be a good investment to save on energy consumption. Smart outlets stop the energy flow when the electronic is turned off, so that prevents waste. If you're interested, the EPA has a really cool tool that's free that's called the EPA Portfolio Manager that libraries can use to track their energy use so that they can find areas that have a lot of waste to help improve their overall energy consumption. Recycling is obviously huge. Libraries should provide recycling bins in many different locations with clearly printed instructions to promote their use. Sometimes I think people try to recycle something mistakenly that can't be recycled, and that ends up creating a lot more waste. Another thing libraries can do is purchase recycled paper. The break room is another place where a lot of waste occurs. So by providing Tupperware or reusable utensils, reusable coffee mugs, and things like that, we can cut down on the amount of waste that there is in the break room. It's not that hard to provide non-reusable utensils and Tupperware and things like that people can just wash after they're done using it. And then recycling weeded books. So I know that sending it out to the recycling center can be kind of expensive. So if you keep those weeded books in use or in the library, it can be reused in programming or for other things. And I will go over that in just a bit when we talk about programming. So increasing awareness in programming. When you have those weeded books, you could put on programs with them. You could make a coffee table or word art or things like that. I think it's really important that the library includes the community to help increase awareness. Other program ideas, we could pick up waste around the community. Also, recycling electronics could be really interesting, providing the students access to old electronics that they can take apart and tinker with. Could be a good way, to recycle those things. The EPA on their website also has really great resources for teachers and librarians. They provide lesson plans and activities and things like that could easily be incorporated into the library as sort of a learning activity for the students. Putting signs up around the library or putting QR codes up around the library to educate the patrons and also to promote recycling. We could also host information sessions. So I was thinking something like bringing in a local expert or bringing in someone from the DNR to talk about issues that are specific to the community, which is really important. Community-specific issues helps, give a personal tie to the local environment, which is really important. Librarians can also provide annotated bibliographies and LibGuides to help educate the public, as well as conscientious collection development. So purchasing books that have been printed on recycled paper, providing greater access to ebooks and things like that. And this is just an example of a bulletin that I did this year for Earth Day. Everything was printed on recycled paper. All of my graphics and my wording has been laminated so it can be reused for future use. And then that infographic that I created is just a reminder to students to bring their own water bottle, to try and go paperless, and to think about their food consumption. Another way to increase awareness is to get social. A lot of people are on social media. Most people are on social media. So if you promote your information, promote your activities, engage with some of these green and environmental accounts, that's a good way to help get other people involved and to increase awareness that way. So I just want to go through a couple case studies to um, illustrate how easy it is for libraries to implement some of these things. So the Milburn Elementary School in Wadsworth, Illinois received the Let the Sunshine grant, which is a grant funded by A Plus for Energy, which is a BP education program. So this is a grant that focuses on grade level activities that incorporate solar energy activities into the school library media program. So each grade level has a different activity and a different book that ties together to help the students learn about energy consumption and solar energy specifically, and then that's tied with a book. So that I think is just a really interesting thing to think about in terms of programming in the library. The Duke University Medical Center Library created and implemented a sustainability plan to contribute to the university's greater institutional goal, which was to become carbon neutral by 2024. So they held personal workshops in the library to talk about personal changes that people can make to reduce their carbon footprint. They also brainstormed in the library and they came up with a ton of really small and I think really manageable sustainability issues that they could address, or solutions to sustainability issues that they could address in their space. So a couple examples, they started purchasing on recycled paper. Instead of traveling, they started using video conferencing. Obviously greater recycling, donating gently used supplies. They put reusable dishware and cutlery in their break room, and they moved all current journal subscriptions to electronic. So those are really small changes, but those add up in the long run to ultimately help their library become more sustainable. So that's all I have. Please let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out and to contact me. And here is my bibliography. Thank you.